Last night, the Brooklyn Nets lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay. And what's interesting about it is Kyrie Irving had 37, Kevin Durant had 38, and James Harden had 21 points. You know? So, look, it causes everybody, because they lost in overtime to the Cleveland Cavaliers, it causes everyone to sit here and think to themselves, that'll never work. They don't play any defense. But the truth is that while everybody quickly jumps ship, and I even put out a tweet about Matador defense, while everybody likes to jump ship at the very, very first sign of any sort of issue, the truth is this: that I still think the Brooklyn Nets are going to be pretty good. Yes, Colin Sexton had 42 against them and was a meh. And yes, they have had to deplete the resources of their bench in order to consummate the trade for James Harden. And yes, Kyrie Irving is he here? Is he not here? We don't know. All of those things can in fact be true. But there isn't another team in the NBA that can roll out a better offensive unit. And while their defense is not great, it isn't like DeAndre Jordan can't protect the rim. And it isn't like Kevin Durant has become a plus defender. Is Joe Harris? Probably not, but he's solid. He's fine. He's good. Is James Harden? Not really. Is Kyrie Irving? Not really. But what the Heat were defensively last year in the playoffs, the Nets can be offensively in the playoffs this year. And do I think it's gotten to the place that fans think that it is? Like, if you ask a fan, they're like, no, he plays defense in the NBA anyway. Truth is, the two teams in the NBA Finals last year were the two best defensive teams in the bubble and maybe outside of the bubble as well. Right? The Bucks would be the third team. And when the Warriors were great, the Warriors were analytically the best defensive team in the league. So there's but the league, just like the NFL, is trending in the way of offense, and there aren't better offensive players than what you have. There's also the idea that James Harden becomes a much better weapon when he's a facilitator. He still draws a ton of fouls. He still can make threes, only now he's not as ball dominant. Like some of his weaknesses, which I believe he wanted to play more defense in the playoffs, but he simply didn't have the gas in the tank because he had to carry him on offense. KD, Kyrie, James Harden, by themselves, top 5, top 10 in the league as individual scorers. Combined, a stoppable but virtually unstoppable force through the course of 7 games. They all have, there's always issues there, right? Like if you want to say like LeBron is better because, okay, but I don't think LeBron has it in him to be as good offensively as consistently as any of those three, simply because of the attrition of the amount of years he's been in the league. Anthony Davis, there have been still some disappearing times, although he's immensely talented, and I would put him in that same group. Who's the Lakers' third guy? Dennis Schroeder? There is no comparison between Dennis Schroeder and Kyrie Irving. Now, if you want to say the Lakers supporting cast is better, I'd agree. But remember, the Nets between now and the end of the season can add any of the buyout guys. And they can add some young pieces to the G League, and there's some talented dudes there as well. They'll fill out that bench. Is it a dangerous game to play for 2 years? Yeah. KD's been hurt a good amount. Kyrie's been hurt physically a lot and mentally recently. But I'm not selling stock right now on the Nets just because Kyrie is weird, hard to coach, and they don't traditionally play a ton of defense. Because I do this with the NCAA tournament. They're out. Take them out. Who are you going to put them in? They're in. Put them in. Who are you going to take out? If you tell me you don't like the Nets, then there has to be somebody else you like better. You can go Raptors all you want. I don't see it. I haven't seen Pascal Siakam display any sort of ability in the playoffs as of yet. And though I love the Fred VanVleet story, he's paid at a level, I believe, not commensurate with his actual talent right now in the league. As a wildly underpaid starting or backup guard, he's great. As an overpaid starting guard, he's good. He's not Kyrie. You like the Celtics? Okay. Their third best player is Kemba Walker, and their top two players are not as good as James Harden and Kevin Durant. They're just not. You literally have the best scorer in the league in Durant, and probably the best scoring point guard, combo guard in Kyrie, and the best, whatever you want to call what James Harden plays, in James Harden. And then you have maybe the best shooter, catch and shoot shooter with space in Joe Harris. I mean, three-point shooting contest aside. He's not Steph, but it's because Steph can do so many other things. And then you got a rim protector. And I don't hate their coaching staff. I don't like what Kyrie said about their coaching staff, but you have to factor in they basically had no training. They had no training camp together, as this team is, and even the team that was together, that training camp was shortened. Kyrie and KD hadn't played in over. KD hadn't played in over a year. Kyrie barely played last year. Like, all of this stuff is a work in progress. So you can take a snapshot of what they were last night, but that is not their defining moment. The first game of the big three together for the Miami Heat scored 80 points. It was hard. They got to the finals the first year. They won 2 NBA championships and then lost in their fourth year. I don't know if that's what happened because I don't know if they'll defend or how it'll all work out once they get to the playoffs. I do know this. The league has always been about who has the best players, who can just make the biggest shots. It's also been about defense and about toughness, and I have questions about it, but I'm not selling my stock that I haven't purchased yet.